For years, we've looked into the darkness of space thinking it was empty, cold, silent, just a lonely ocean of stars drifting without purpose. But we were wrong. The universe is not silent. It has been speaking this whole time. We just weren't ready to listen. The James Webb Space Telescope is the most powerful eye humanity has ever built. It sees through cosmic dust, across time, across galaxies, across distances so extreme that light itself needs millions of years to arrive. And what it just discovered has shaken the scientific world down to its core. This story doesn't begin with a planet. It doesn't begin with a galaxy. It begins with a visitor, an object from beyond our solar system. Astronomers named it 3I Atlas. At first, it looked harmless, just another icy traveler, drifting like a lost stone between the stars. But it didn't act like a stone. It didn't drift. It pulsed. It aimed. It behaved. No one understood what it was. But that changed when James Webb detected something inside it. Not from the Sunday, not from friction, not from anything we can explain, this object produces heat from within. Even worse, it pulses in a perfect rhythm, like a heart. And bodies in nature do not pulse. Machines pulse, systems pulse, life pulses. And when scientists try to study it deeper, they found something no one expected. The light coming from 3I Atlas was not just light. It carried a pattern, a structured message, a signal. Someone or something is inside it. Or maybe 3I Atlas I as the someone. And now it is moving in a way no natural object should move. It is not following a normal path. It is adjusting course, correcting itself, steering through space. And that has only ever been done by three things: humans, machines, or intelligence. But this isn't a story about fear. It's a story about a secret hidden in space, possibly for millions of years. A secret that might explain where life came from. Not just life out there, but life here on Earth. Because 3I Atlas isn't just passing through our solar system. It is heading toward us, but not by accident, not by gravity, by choice. Stay with me. By the time we reach the end of this video, everything you believed about space, life, and humanity's future will change. Before we go deeper, take a breath. Look around you. The chair you're sitting on, your heartbeat, the screen in front of you, all of it exists in a peaceful moment on a tiny blue planet floating in an endless void. But somewhere out there, in that darkness, something has begun moving with purpose. And it is coming closer. Scientists didn't panic when they first detected 3I Atlas. It wasn't large enough to cause fear. It didn't pose a threat to Earth. Not yet. But then, something strange happened. As James Webb observed it, it noticed something no other telescope could. 3I Atlas isn't reflecting sunlight, it's generating energy. That shouldn't be possible. Icy rocks don't do that. Frozen comets don't do that. Dead things do not do that. But maybe 3I Atlas isn't dead. Maybe it isn't a rock at all. Maybe it's something we've never seen before, something that challenges the very idea of life. But before we jump ahead, we need to go back, far back, to truly understand what this object might be. Long before humans walked the earth, before the moon formed, before planets took shape, before stars lit fire, the universe existed in a different state. Matter floated in chaos. Gravity hadn't yet sculpted galaxies. There were no suns, no planets, no homes for life to grow. But something lived anyway. Scientists now believe life may not have started on planets. It may not have needed oceans or soil or atmosphere. Life, the very first form of life, may have begun in space itself. Not life of skin and bone, but life of energy. Life built from the structures of plasma, magnetism, and cosmic dust. Life that thinks in waves instead of thoughts. Life that moves not by walking, but by drifting across galaxies. Life that lives not for days, but for billions of years. It would be invisible. It would be quiet. It would wait. And when it found worlds like ours, worlds full of potential, it wouldn't land. It wouldn't invade. It would do something else. It would plant a seed. That seed could be life. Maybe that seed was DNA. Maybe that seed was intelligence. Maybe that seed was 3-eye atlas. When scientists tracked 3-eye atlas, they expected normal behavior. Every natural object in space follows the laws of gravity. The sun pulls and objects obey. They curve along predictable paths. They move in silence. They do not change direction. They do not act with intent. But 3-eye atlas changed direction. Not by accident, not by gravity, not by collision, but in a smooth, controlled maneuver. For days, the change was so small that only powerful instruments noticed it. But it was real. 3-eye atlas corrected its path with a level of precision that would make a space probe jealous. NASA doesn't like mysteries, especially ones moving through our solar system. So they repointed multiple instruments at it. Radio data from the Deep Space Network in Goldstone, optical scans from ground telescopes in Chile, and of course, James Webb's infrared eyes. What they found was impossible. It wasn't emitting heat randomly. It was pulsing heat, timed heat. Every 19 minutes, there was a burst. Not chaotic, not erratic, perfect, timed, structured, controlled. And that raised one question no scientist ever wants to ask. Is someone controlling it? NASA didn't want that question reaching the public, so they classified almost all 3-eye atlas data, locked it down inside private research networks. But the truth has a way of leaking. Dr. Amelia Rose, a deep space physicist who once worked with the Hubble team, said something chilling in an off-record interview. We know how dead objects behave in space. 3-eye atlas isn't dead. Whatever it is, it's active. But what really shook the scientific community wasn't the heat pulses. It was the light. Every object in space reflects or emits a unique light fingerprint called a spectrum. It tells us what materials it's made from: iron, hydrogen, carbon, water, ice. But the spectrum from 3-eye atlas didn't make sense. It showed patterns, repeating signals in wavelengths that don't occur naturally. So the team did something bold. They converted those signals into sound. And when they replayed it, it was a noise. It was a pattern, a rhythm. Some compared it to sonar, others said it felt like a heartbeat. One researcher, who later quit the project, said it made him feel watched. But that was just the beginning. James Webb detected chemical traces in the tail of 3I Atlas traces that don't belong in space. Something organic, not bacteria, not DNA, but something that could become both. Webb detected precursors to live amino acid chains forming in open space. This shouldn't be possible. Space is a vacuum full of deadly radiation. Life should not begin there. And yet, fragments of organic matter trail behind 3I Atlas like a ship leaving a path behind it. This raised a question older than science itself. What if life didn't start on Earth? What if it was sent here? Suddenly, the story of 3I Atlas wasn't just a space story. It was our story. It means the universe may not be empty. It may be a garden. And sometimes something comes back to check on what it planted. But here's the part that changes everything. The organic material in the tail of 3I Atlas didn't match anything seen before, not alien, and not completely foreign either. It has similarities to Earth life, but older, much older, genetic roots so ancient they might predate planet Earth itself. Whatever 3I Atlas is, it carries life. Not life we understand, but life that might be waiting, looking, choosing. And now it's coming closer. 3I Atlas was never supposed to come anywhere near Earth. When it was first detected, astronomers said it would pass harmlessly through the solar system, just another cosmic tourist, here today, gone forever. But that was before it changed course, before the first maneuver, before the pose. Now everything has changed. 3I Atlas is no longer following a natural orbit. It is actively adjusting its path. And with every correction, it comes closer, not to Mars, not to Jupiter, but to us, Earth. NASA's official public trajectory still shows a safe path. They call it a near-Earth interstellar approach. But leaked internal simulations tell a different story, one almost too frightening to accept. The object isn't drifting, it's aligning. At first, the course adjustments looked random small deviations, barely detectable. But when analysts charted them over time, a pattern emerged. 3I Atlas is following a spiraling descent like something lining up a shot. It is positioning itself, and it is doing it intelligently. The movement isn't fast. It doesn't want to be noticed. But with every calculation update, the missed distance shrinks. And then came the impossible math. 3I Atlas is losing speed. Nothing in deep space naturally slows down without colliding with something or using thrust. But infrared trackers picked up cold gas emissions, gentle venting along a single axis like tiny course correction bursts, like reverse thrusters. Something is controlling the deceleration. Something wants this object to enter the inner solar system and stay there. But why here? Why us? Some believe it's a reconnaissance probe. Others believe it's a delivery system. A few those who work late at night studying classified orbital maps believe it is returning. James Webb was recently repositioned again to perform a long-range scan, searching for the next maneuver. What he found confirms the unthinkable. 3I Atlas is now on an intercept vector with Earth's orbital path, not a collision course. yet. But something far more unsettling, a matching path. It isn't aiming for Earth, it is shadowing Earth, moving into our orbit window. That means one thing: it wants to stay close, like a satellite or a watcher. Even worse, it is predicted to enter a key gravitational zone known as an energy transfer corridor. If it times the maneuver just right, it can use Earth's orbit to decelerate again and drop deeper into the solar system. No natural object does this. This is flight control. Now governments are quietly repositioning listening stations. Private observatories have been ordered to turn their telescopes elsewhere. And for the first time since its launch, NASA has restricted part of the James Webb schedule from public release. Someone doesn't want us looking at Three-Eye Atlas anymore. But why hide it unless there is something coming they don't want us to see? Maybe it's not just a threat. Maybe it's a test. Maybe it's waiting to see if we respond. And if we don't, maybe it will make the next move. They're not saying it publicly, but the lockdown has already begun. Astronomers call it the silent sky. Quiet changes, small adjustments just enough to avoid public suspicion, but obvious to anyone paying attention. The kind of people who watch the stars every night. The kind of people who notice when something isn't right. For the first time in years, live orbital data streams have gone dark. NASA's Minor Planet Center delayed all object updates pending review. The Deep Space Network status page, usually open to the public, is now only broadcasting partial feeds. Observations of Three-Eye Atlas have been flagged, and not just flagged, restricted. Private satellite companies have received communication blackout notices. Amateur astronomers report that their telescope coordinates autocorrect away from tracking the object. Even the James Webb Telescope, the one tool powerful enough to analyze it in detail, has had viewing blocks added to its schedule. Someone doesn't want this object being watched, and that means someone is afraid of what we might see. But silence makes people ask questions, and people are asking loudly. Has Three-Eye Atlas already done something we weren't told about? The answer may have come from outside Earth, from Mars. The Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, the silent guardian of the red planet, recently sent a strange report before going unexpectedly into emergency safe mode. No explanation, no follow-up, just a shutdown. But the raw image data from its last transmission didn't disappear fast enough. A few frames slipped out, and in those final images, something appears in the sky above Mars. A streak. Not a comet streak, not debris, not solar reflection. A precise beam, a narrow, perfect ray of pale light stretching downward through the thin Martian atmosphere, faint but visible. The origin line traces into space toward the incoming trajectory of Three-Eye Atlas. Mars was scanned. Earth could be next. But what was the beam for? Analysis from image experts showed it wasn't energy dispersing, it was energy gathering. Almost like a probe collecting atmospheric composition, sampling, indexing, cataloging. Something is collecting planetary signatures. And it didn't stop with Mars. Ground sensors in Earth orbit have begun logging a new kind of interference, short, invisible frequency intrusions that sweep across the planet every 6 hours. They're low energy but perfectly patterned, like someone or something is scanning the planet layer by layer. The scans began the moment 3I Atlas crossed Neptune's orbit, and they have not stopped since. Whoever is behind this object, whoever built it, doesn't just know Earth is here. They're studying us, mapping us, maybe preparing for something. And here's where things get even stranger. Hidden inside that strange scanning rhythm, radio amateurs found echoes, weak reflections coming not from space, but from Earth itself. Something in our own atmosphere is responding, not random static, structured response. Tiny frequency mirrors in the ionosphere returning coded patterns, patterns that shouldn't exist naturally, patterns that almost look like communication, as if Earth is answering back. But if Earth is replying, then who is sending the original message? And why are two worlds now caught in a silent conversation, one we were never supposed to hear? Something changed after those mysterious planetary scans began. And for the first time, it wasn't Earth reacting. It was 3I Atlas. Hidden inside its coma of dust and frozen vapor, something began to move. For months, astronomers believed 3I Atlas was just one object, a single mass. But the latest composite images from the Subaru telescope in Hawaii revealed something shocking. The light wasn't uniform. Something inside the object was rotating independently. Imagine looking at a lantern in a fog. The glow looks smooth, natural, but if something moves inside the lantern, the light shifts in rhythm. That's exactly what observers saw. A rhythm, a cycle. Every 19.7 minutes, a faint pulse travels across the cloud, surrounding 3I Atlas. It's not a random rotation. It's a mechanical interval. The object's coma, the cloud around it, isn't expanding like a natural comet. It reacts. It responds. Sometimes it tightens. Sometimes it flares. Like something is controlling it from the inside. If this were just a comet, it wouldn't do that, ever. And that's when something surfaced, something no one expected. Someone leaked a piece of restricted James Webb data. Just one file, one fragment. But it shattered everything. A spectral scan of 3I Atlas from Webb's near-spec instrument, classified as Level 7 restricted, was anonymously uploaded to a private astronomy forum. It didn't stay private for long. Thousands of scientists archived it before it vanished. And here's the terrifying part. It confirmed metal, refined metal, not raw cosmic minerals, not asteroid nickel iron, manufactured alloy. A lattice of ultralight reactive panels hidden beneath the ice layer. Panels arranged in a hexagonal structure like scales. Like armor, natural objects don't build armor. Someone built this, but that wasn't the most disturbing part of the leak. Buried inside the document was a note. Not official NASA labeling this was personal. Someone on the inside wrote just 6 words across the data scan. It opens. Do not approach. But opens how? Opens what? That same night, James Webb was pulled off tracking 3I Atlas entirely. No announcement, no scheduled maintenance, just gone from the target list. Which means one thing. It saw something they don't want us to see. And if the object can open, then it might not be a rock at all. It might be a vessel. As the leak spread, people began dissecting the spectrum image frame by frame, pixel by pixel, and they found something missed even by Webb's filters. There are gaps in the alloy surface, 6 of them, perfectly symmetrical, like ports or hatches or connection nodes. One researcher called them docking interfaces. Another, much less calm, called them release points. Release? For what? That's when a Spanish radio observatory picked up something. A hum, faint, deep, buried under cosmic background noise. Not a radio transmission, not normal space static. This was harmonic resonance, a frequency too low for communication, but perfect for activation. Something inside 3i Atlas may already be awake, and now it's sending vibration signals across space. But not random signals, signals directed at someone or something, because triangulation analysis revealed something insane. The hum isn't broadcasting outward randomly. It's aimed back at our Sunday. Something is happening to the Sunday. For weeks, solar activity has been unusually quiet, too quiet. Sunspot activity dropped. Solar flares paused. Even the solar wind slowed down, as if something was suppressing it. Space weather specialists called it a calm phase, but it wasn't calm. It was waiting, because then, without warning, a single pulse exploded from the far side of the Sunday, not a flare, not a coronal mass ejection, but a directed energy burst, short, focused, too narrow to be natural. Its origin point? A magnetic anomaly that NASA has not been able to explain. A twisting helix-like structure inside the sun's corona, coiling like a rope of plasma, moving almost like intention. And that burst, this targeted emission, was not random. It was aimed precisely along the same vector as 3i Atlas. Let that sink in. A deep space interstellar object begins humming toward the Sunday days later. The sun responds with a burst aimed back. This was not a comet passing by. This was a conversation. But between who? Every major solar observatory moved into emergency monitoring. NASA's Solar Dynamics Observatory, the European Solar Orbiter, the Japanese Hinode mission, all saw the same thing. The sun is rotating toward 3i Atlas, not visually, but magnetically. Its field lines are bending, aligning, and that's impossible. The sun doesn't react to objects this small. It doesn't reach across astronomical units with precision. Gravity? Yes. Magnetic field drift? Maybe. But communication? Never. Unless what is approaching us is not a comet, but a magnetically active probe designed to interface with stars. Think about that technology advanced enough to use stars as transmitters, not communication networks, stellar networks. That flips everything we know about cosmic engineering. But then came the final confirmation when the Parker Solar Probe picked up a repeating harmonic embedded inside the solar burst. A harmonic that matched the same frequency already detected inside 3i Atlas. 2 signals, 1 pattern. They are locked on each other. But why connect with the sun? Why not Earth? Why not Mars? Because the sun controls the entire heliosphere. Every planet, every orbit, every cycle of life in this system. If you could control the sun, you could control everything. Maybe that's the plan. Maybe that was always the plan. And if so, 3I Atlas isn't heading toward Earth, is heading toward a trigger. The countdown didn't begin with a clock. It began with a vibration. At first, nobody noticed it. The signal coming from 3I Atlas was faint, buried beneath static, cosmic dust, and distortion from deep space. It sounded random, harmless, noise. But noise doesn't repeat. And that's when a team from the European Space Agency ran the signal through a spectral compression model, the same kind used to detect gravitational waves. When they slowed the frequency down 800 times and increased the gain, they heard it, a pulse, then another, evenly spaced, perfectly timed, artificial. It wasn't just rhythm, it was structure. Across 23 minutes, analysts found 11 repeating pulse groups. Every group contained prime numbers 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, embedded in ultrasonic harmonics. Then the pulse pattern would reset and start over again. This wasn't a random signal. This was a cycle. And when NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab plotted the pulse timing against 3I Atlas's trajectory, they found something that froze the entire operations room. The reset matches positional milestones. 3I Atlas isn't just traveling, it's sinking. When it crossed Jupiter's orbit, the pulses changed. When it entered the asteroid belt, the spacing tightened. And when it aligned with the Sun's polar axis, the pulse frequency spiked. It reacts to position, it reacts to gravity, it reacts to stars. Now here's where things get dangerous. Astrophysicists charted out future shifts. If the pulses continue increasing at the current rate, the next major spike lines up with a terrifying moment, solar maximum, the most unstable phase of the Sun's 11-year cycle. Massive sunspots, extreme magnetic storms, coronal mass ejections, capable of wiping out satellites, power grids, maybe even atmospheres. 3I Atlas is timing something with the Sunday, and it's not random. Hidden inside the pulse structure was a secondary layer, an ultra-low subfrequency. When converted to mathematical curves, it formed spirals. The same kinds of spiral paths used in orbital transfers. Approach paths. That's when analysts realized this isn't a countdown to impact. It's a countdown to activation. The object isn't coming here to collide with Earth. It's coming here to do something. Maybe transmit, maybe deploy, maybe awaken. But activation of what? A device? A signal? A species? Or an ancient network waiting for a key? Suddenly, the silence from space agencies makes sense. This isn't about preventing panic. This is about time. Because if the countdown is real, we're not just on a collision course, we're on a schedule. And the moment 3I Atlas reaches its next pulse shift, everything changes. Something is wrong with our history. For weeks, scientists believed the strange pulsing code coming from 3I Atlas began only after it entered our solar system. But that assumption didn't last long. Because while most of the world was busy arguing about whether the object was a comet, a probe, or something worse, a quiet team of researchers discovered something disturbing, something that should not exist. They found the Atlas pulse pattern on Earth. Not recently, not in modern data, but in ancient artifacts carved in stone thousands of years before telescopes, spaceflight, or deep space communication even existed. It began with a single image. A Canadian signal specialist, Dr. Leon Vargas, ran the pulse sequence through a visualizer to spot hidden structures within the signal. When converted to geometric form, the signal became a rotating three-armed spiral, surrounded by oscillating rings that expanded outward in perfect intervals. 2 hours later, an archaeologist from Peru contacted him with a photo. The same symbol carved into basalt stone in the high desert near Nazca dated to over 1,800 years ago. Coincidence? At first, maybe. Symbols repeat across cultures. Geometry overlaps across time. But then came discovery number 2. A researcher from Turkey sent images from Göbekli Tepe, a site over 12,000 years old. On Pillar 43, sitting beneath a carved vulture and a crescent, are 3 spirals arranged in perfect alignment, with the same prime number spacing as the Atlas pulse. Then came the 3rd strike. A linguist studying the Indus Valley script found a sequence of engraved dots and spirals on a stone tablet, dot groupings in the exact same number structure as the pulse clusters coming from 3I Atlas. This isn't random. 3 ancient cultures, 3 different parts of the world. Same message, same symbol, same number pattern. Separated by oceans, separated by millennia, yet somehow they knew. But how? That's when someone connected the final piece. The pulse code isn't just prime numbers. It's coordinates, celestial timing. The pattern matches orbital resonance cycles between Earth, Mars, and Jupiter alignments that occur only once every 2,187 years. The next alignment? This cycle. Right now, 3I Atlas didn't just wander into our solar system. It returned right on schedule. So now the question isn't just what it is. It's who sent it the first time, and even worse, what happened to them? When researchers overlaid the pulse pattern from 3I Atlas onto the map of Earth, everything changed. At first, they tested it as a simple geometric overlay, just a spiral map template aligned to Earth's geography. Nothing obvious happened, but then someone tried rotating the pulse pattern according to the sidereal day Earth's rotation relative to the stars. That's when the alignments snapped into place like a cosmic lock finally turning. The pulse didn't just align with random places. It aligned with monuments, ancient, impossible monuments. The Great Pyramid of Giza in Egypt, Teotihuacan in Mexico, Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, Stonehenge in England, Angkor Wat in Cambodia, Nabta Playa in the Sahara, the Pyramid of the Sun in Bosnia, the Silbury Mound in the UK, Easter Island in the Pacific. Each of these locations fell perfectly on the pulse's resonance nodes, points where the waveform peaks, as if each structure was built to receive or amplify a frequency from the sky. But the discovery got stranger, much stranger. When researchers converted the 3I Atlas pulse into sound matching its frequency to the Earth's natural resonance, known as the Schumann resonance, certain ancient sites began to respond. Not physically, not visibly, but acoustically, when the converted pulse was played inside the king's chamber of the Great Pyramid at 7.83 hertzes, the exact resonance of Earth, the granite walls began to hum. The chamber reverberated as if something inside it had been waiting for that exact frequency. Angkor Wat responded next. Built with precise symmetry aligned to star cycles, its inner courtyard amplified the same signal as if architected for it. Then Teotihuacan, the Pyramid of the Sun, produced standing wave interference, generating low-frequency harmonics identical to those detected from 3I Atlas. This was no longer archaeology. It was communication engineering. Ancient structures across Earth weren't random temples, tombs, or ceremonial platforms. They were receivers, resonance beacons, structures built to interact with something in space, something sending a signal, something like 3I Atlas. The object we thought was new isn't. It's part of a cycle, a repeating cosmic pattern that began before recorded history. When researchers overlaid the pulse pattern from 3I Atlas onto the map of Earth, everything changed. At first, they tested it as a simple geometric overlay, just a spiral map template aligned to Earth's geography. Nothing obvious happened, but then someone tried rotating the pulse pattern according to the sidereal day Earth's rotation relative to the stars. That's when the alignment snapped into place like a cosmic lock finally turning. The pulse didn't just align with random places. It aligned with monuments. NASA didn't go silent because they were confused. They went silent because they knew. Right after the resonance mapping connected ancient structures to the 3I Atlas signal, 2 unmarked flights departed from Edwards Air Force Base in California. Their destinations were never announced, but flight tracking enthusiasts traced their final transponder ping before they disabled tracking entirely. One plane vanished over northern Egypt. The other disappeared over Antarctica. Satellite passes confirmed teams were deployed to 2 locations. The first, a restricted zone beneath the Giza Plateau, directly between the Great Pyramid and the Sphinx. The second, an excavation site near the Antarctic ice ridge, close to a magnetic anomaly known to interfere with instruments. These trips weren't routine research missions. They were response missions. The Sphinx anomaly. For over a century, there have been whispers of a hidden chamber beneath the Sphinx. Archaeologists avoided it. Egypt denied it. But ground-penetrating radar in the 1990 seconds detected a massive rectangular void, one that sharply contrasted the surrounding sandstone. For years, Egypt refused excavation. Then, suddenly, clearance was granted only to a joint NASA-Egyptian military operation. Why now? Because the 3I Atlas harmonics triggered something under the Sphinx. During the pulse synchronization event, underground sensors near Giza picked up a deep infrasound vibration so low it couldn't be heard, only measured. That vibration wasn't random. It matched the exact frequency 3I Atlas transmitted into space, 17.2 minutes per full resonance cycle. In other words, the chamber beneath the Sphinx woke up, and the timing was no coincidence. It aligned exactly with when 3I Atlas crossed into the inner solar system. But here's where it goes from mysterious to terrifying. Dr. Marcus Vallon, a geophysicist who leaked part of the data to a contact in Europe, claimed the chamber is not empty. Inside, it is a sealed megalithic structure carved entirely from basalt, embedded with crystalline panels that resonate with electromagnetic energy. Not only that, it's powered. It's not ancient Egyptian. It's older. It wasn't built. It was placed. Those were his last public words before disappearing from all communication. His university scrubbed his profile. He no longer exists in academic records. Antarctica. The other node. Why Antarctica? Because the pulse map didn't just point to Giza, it pointed to two poles. The South Magnetic Pole, to be exact. Ice-penetrating satellites detected a geometric formation buried 2,800 feet below the Antarctic ice. Perfectly circular, exactly aligned to 3I Atlas's position, just like Giza. It shouldn't be there. Seismic scans show a dome metallic, smooth and flawless, like a half-buried sphere under the ice. Scientists assume nature doesn't build perfectly smooth circles. Engineers do. This wasn't made by humans. Not ancient humans. Not modern humans. Something else put it there. And now, for the first time, whatever it is active. The structure began emitting a faint electromagnetic hum, synchronized to the same global resonance detected at the pyramids. Antarctica and Giza are linked. These are nodes. Earth is part of a network, a system waiting for a signal. And now, the signal has arrived. Hold your breath, because this is where it all starts to come together. For weeks, NASA, ESA, and the Chinese National Space Agency denied that any link existed between the 3I Atlas object and Earth. They insisted it was just a comet, a rock with gas. Nothing to see here. But then, a classified internal memo leaked. It came from someone inside NASA's Planetary Defense Coordination Office, a department most people don't even know exists. This isn't science fiction. It's real, and their job is exactly what it sounds like, to prepare Earth for threats from space. The document was labeled PRP Activation, Level 3 Protocol, Confidential. Subject: 3I Atlas interaction. Electromagnetic synchronization detected. PRP stands for Planetary Response Protocol. That protocol only has 3 levels. Level 1 means monitor an unusual space object. Level 2 means prepare for a potential impact. But level 3, that's something else. Level 3 is triggered for non-kinetic extraterrestrial events. In plain language, contact without visible craft, contact by signal, or contact by intelligence. This means NASA is not treating 3I Atlas as a comet anymore. They are treating it as a deliberate object with unknown origin and unknown intent. The memo revealed 3 critical findings. Finding 1, global harmonic entrapment. The memo confirms that multiple locations on Earth are resonating with the same frequency emitted by 3I Atlas 17.2 minutes. These locations include Giza Plateau, Egypt, Antarctica Anomaly Site, Nazca Region, Peru, Göbekli Tepe, Turkey, Devil's Tower, United States, Uluru, Australia. Someone or something designed Earth as part of a network. And we just switched it back on. Finding two incoming synchronization overlay, 3i Atlas has changed course again. This time, it made a subtle angular correction not toward Mars, but toward Earth. But here's what no one expected. It's not on a collision course. It's matching velocity. Let that sink in. Objects don't do that. Space rocks don't do that. Even probes don't do that. Unless they are navigating, 3i Atlas isn't falling anymore. It's arriving. Finding 3, coded electromagnetic layer, hidden inside its emissions, is a second signal, a signal riding inside the main pulse, like a digital message hidden inside a heartbeat. Encryption experts already analyzed the bit stream. It uses prime number intervals, the universal language used in every attempt at extraterrestrial communication. This isn't natural. This isn't random. This was meant to be found. And if that memo wasn't enough, there was one more line, a warning. Do not transmit response. Maintain silent protocol. Unknown intent. NASA knows 3i Atlas is communicating, but they're afraid to answer. Ancient, impossible monument. The Great Pyramid of Giza in Egypt, Teotihuacan in Mexico, Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, Stonehenge in England, Angkor Wat in Cambodia, Nabta Playa in the Sahara, the Pyramid of the Sun in Bosnia, the Silbury Mound in the UK, Easter Island in the Pacific. Each of these locations fell perfectly on the pulse's resonance nodes, points where the waveform peaks, as if each structure was built to receive or amplify a frequency from the sky. But the discovery got stranger, much stranger. When researchers converted the 3i Atlas pulse into sound, matching its frequency to the Earth's natural resonance known as the Schumann resonance, certain ancient sites began to respond, not physically, not visibly, but acoustically. When the converted pulse was played inside the King's Chamber of the Great Pyramid at 7.83 Hz, the exact resonance of Earth, the granite walls began to hum. The chamber reverberated as if something inside it had been waiting for that exact frequency. Angkor Wat responded next. Built with precise symmetry aligned to star cycles, its inner courtyard amplified the same signal as if architected for it. Then Teotihuacan, the Pyramid of the Sun, produced standing wave interference, generating low-frequency harmonics identical to those detected from 3i Atlas. This was no longer archaeology. It was communication engineering. Ancient structures across Earth weren't random temples, tombs, or ceremonial platforms. They were receivers, resonance beacons, structures built to interact with something in space, something sending a signal, something like 3i Atlas. The object we thought was new isn't. It's part of a cycle, a repeating cosmic pattern that began before recorded history, which means 3 terrifying possibilities now stand before us. Ancient civilizations weren't primitive, they were in contact. 3i Atlas has been here before, and Earth was part of its route. The structures were left behind as part of a planetary network, a system waiting to be reactivated. And it gets worse, because now the network may already be turning back on. The latest geomagnetic data shows micro fluctuations exactly synchronized with the 3I Atlas pulse at pyramid sites around the world. Earth is responding. The question is, to what? Then came the moment everything changed. For weeks, scientists believed the strange electromagnetic pulses coming from 3I Atlas were just intelligent data, bizarre, structured, but still only a transmission drifting through space. But then deep space antennas across Australia, Chile, and South Africa detected something they couldn't explain. A response signal was already being sent back to 3I Atlas. The terrifying part wasn't the signal itself, it was where it came from Earth, and no government admitted to sending it. Tracking triangulation revealed the source. It wasn't from a military satellite, a classified communications array, or any known space agency facility. The reply came from a frozen wasteland at the bottom of the planet, from deep beneath the Antarctic ice. The signal originated from a restricted region known as Wilkes Land, far beyond any civilian access. It's a place buried under miles of glacial ice where decades ago a massive circular anomaly was detected using gravity mapping. Something is buried there, something hundreds of miles wide. Some scientists called it an asteroid impact crater. Others whispered behind closed doors that it might be artificial, an ancient structure sealed away before human history even began. Whatever it is, something under Antarctica answered 3I Atlas first. The Antarctic signal didn't just respond, it spoke the same language. It used the exact same 17.2-minute pulse frequency emitted by 3I Atlas. Same interval, same rhythm, same harmonic resonance. That means it wasn't random. Someone or something under Antarctica was waiting for that exact frequency. It recognized it, and it replied. The moment that reply was sent, 3I Atlas changed. Its thermal reading surged, its spin shifted, and its trajectory, unchanged for months, began to alter again. Only this time, it wasn't adjusting in deep space. It was turning toward Earth. Inside NASA, they didn't call it a threat. They didn't label it a security concern. They referred to this sudden maneuver with two words that leaked from an internal mission document: protocol alignment. That phrase changes everything. It implies this event is following a plan, one that was already known or expected. A protocol implies a system, a trigger sequence, a set of instructions. The obvious question is, if something just aligned, who or what created this protocol in the first place? Analysts recalculated the path of 3I Atlas and found something even stranger. The revised trajectory did not aim at a random point on Earth. Its new arc aligns perfectly with three locations that form a geometric pattern across the planet. The new path aims toward a giant triangle that connects the anomalous region in Antarctica, the Great Pyramid of Giza in Egypt, and the ancient site of Göbekli Tepe in Turkey. Those three places are separated by continents and oceans, yet they form a precise alignment with the new incoming path of 3I Atlas. Each of those locations has been shrouded in mystery for decades. Göbekli Tepe, the oldest megalithic structure on Earth, older than Stonehenge and the pyramids, was intentionally buried by its builders 12,000 years ago, as if they were hiding it for someone to find much later. The Great Pyramid of Giza encodes Earth's dimensions, the speed of light, and complex astronomical alignments far beyond the capabilities of known ancient civilizations. And under Antarctica lies a buried structure so massive that current scanning technology still can't map it fully. For decades, people laughed off the idea that these places could be connected. But now, something from interstellar space is heading directly toward that alignment. That is not coincidence. Something marked this planet long before we were ready to understand it. Something mapped it, prepared it, maybe even engineered parts of it. And that something just knocked on humanity's door. 3I Atlas is not just passing through our solar system anymore. It heard a signal, responded, and is now on approach, which means one terrifying truth is now impossible to ignore. This isn't just an object. It's part of a system. And that system has just been activated. And then something happened that no one can explain. 20 hours after 3I Atlas adjusted its trajectory toward Earth, seismic monitors across the planet detected a harmonic tremor, not an earthquake, not tectonic movement, something else. It came from deep beneath Earth's crust, deeper than any drill has ever reached close to the mantle boundary. The tremor wasn't random. It carried rhythm, structure. It pulsed at the exact same interval as the Atlas signal, 17.2 minutes. Just like the electromagnetic pulses, just like the Antarctica transmission, just like whatever is inside that interstellar object, Earth had begun to respond. At first, the tremor was detected only by classified monitoring stations used to detect underground nuclear tests. Then, civilian seismology networks quietly confirmed it. The pulse is global now. It resonates beneath the Atlantic, beneath Asia, beneath Africa. It is no longer isolated. Something under the planet has synced with the signal coming from deep space. Earth is vibrating. Scientists try to classify it as a magnetoseismic coupling effect, an interaction between magnetic fields and tectonic plates. But that theory collapsed when atmospheric instruments began detecting something even stranger. The Schumann resonance's Earth's natural global electromagnetic frequency spiked violently. One of the harmonics briefly locked onto the same 17.2 minutes cycle. The planet isn't just vibrating, it's tuning. Something is establishing resonance with Earth. And resonance is how systems synchronize, how they exchange information, how they connect. If this is communication, it's not just happening in one direction. Earth isn't being observed anymore. It's now part of a network. The question is, a network with what? That's when something even more disturbing came to light. While analyzing recent cosmic ray data, astrophysicists detected a faint low-frequency carrier wave riding on the solar wind. It wasn't coming from the Sunday. It wasn't coming from the galactic background. It was entering our solar system from the same direction 3I Atlas came from, the constellation Sagittarius, near the galactic center. This means Atlas didn't just randomly cross into our system. It followed a frequency. It followed a beacon. And that beacon, whatever it is still transmitting. Then came the final piece, something so unreal that the leaked document that revealed it was labeled psychological hazard risk. Infrared anomaly reports show that 3I Atlas is no longer passive as it travels. Something inside it is changing. Its internal energy output is increasing again, not chaotically, but in precise logarithmic intervals. The waveform doesn't match any propulsion system. It matches something else. Memory activation. It looks like Atlas is waking up. The sudden silence from every major space agency now makes sense. They're not just hiding data. They're preparing for something they don't know how to explain. Something possibly coming to Earth. Because as of 3 hours ago, astronomers confirmed a disturbing development. The object is no longer on a near-Earth trajectory. It is now on a direct approach toward Earth, descending deliberately. The world still doesn't know. The news is silent. Space agencies aren't warning anyone. But behind the scenes, a global emergency is unfolding in absolute secrecy, and all of it leads back to 3I Atlas. After it shifted into a direct path toward Earth, NASA didn't issue a public alert. Instead, it activated something never before used outside of wartime. Deep Space Contingency Protocol Level Red, a classification so rare that even most mission engineers had no idea it existed. It authorized encrypted communication networks between NASA, ESA, JAXA, the Chinese Space Agency, and Space Force. At the same time, public telescope tracking of Atlas began showing data errors that looked suspiciously like censorship. But here's where everything breaks wide open. A leaked transmission from the Jet Propulsion Laboratory revealed something they've been hiding from the world. Atlas isn't coming alone anymore. There are now 2 unidentified objects traveling behind it, small, cold, and nearly invisible. They weren't visible in optical light, not in infrared, not even in radar scans. They appeared only in gravitational lensing data, meaning they bend space just slightly as they travel. Not enough to suggest mass, but enough to suggest control. These new objects, if you can even call them that, are riding in Atlas's wake like escorts. That means this isn't debris. This isn't a comet trail. This is coordinated movement. This thing has backup. Even worse, whatever Atlas is, it now appears to be responding to something buried deep on our own planet. Remember that 17.2-minute global resonance signal that synced with Earth's electromagnetic field? It didn't stop. It evolved. Observatories now report harmonic layering, meaning the pulse now carries modulation, data strings hidden within it. Whatever Atlas is sending, Earth is answering back, but not through our technology, through something ancient. A classified geophysical scan run by a coalition of military satellites found something buried 5 miles beneath the Pacific Ocean, near the Tonga Trench. A massive structure, perfectly circular, hollow, and resonant, meaning it is responding to the Atlas signal like a tuning fork made of metal. It's impossible. Humanity has never built anything that deep, and the geometry of the object doesn't match anything natural. This isn't geology. It's architecture. Someone or something built it, and it gets worse. Ancient island cultures in the Pacific, Specifically, Polynesian navigators believe the deep ocean held star callers, beings who traveled not across the sea, but down through it from the sky. Their symbols showed spirals descending from stars into the ocean, exactly like Atlas's energy curve. The same pattern has now been found in Peru, in Sumerian tablets, in petroglyphs across Australia. The same spiral, the same alignment. Atlas didn't choose its path randomly. It wasn't wandering. It was returning. Let that sink in. NASA knows. Governments know. And they're not warning anyone. Not because they want to cause panic, but because they don't know what this thing wants. If it were hostile, it could have accelerated. It could have vaporized probes. It hasn't. If it wanted to hide, it could have remained cold and silent, but it didn't. It announced itself, which leaves only two disturbing possibilities. Either it's waiting for permission, or it's waiting for us. And the final piece of the mystery just dropped. The organic material trailing behind Atlas, the strange lifelike signatures that Webb detected, are no longer passive. They are now replicating in space, slowly folding into filament strands, not randomly, structured, self-organizing, in fractal patterns that match DNA growth behavior. Not Earth DNA, not alien DNA, pre-DNA. Atlas isn't just carrying signs of life. It's carrying the instructions to build it. Everything we thought we knew about 3I Atlas was wrong. We thought it was a comet. Then we thought it was a probe. Then we thought maybe, just maybe, it was alive. But we were still thinking too small. Because now, for the first time, Atlas has answered. It happened less than 36 hours ago. A classified emergency briefing was held between NASA, ESA, Space Force, and an unnamed private aerospace agency. And during that meeting, Atlas did something it has never done before. It sent a signal directly to Earth. Not a pulse, not radiation, not cosmic noise. A transmission. It wasn't picked up by radio antennas. It wasn't detected by satellites. It didn't use any known form of communication. It came through, get this, the planet itself. Seismic sensors across the world registered a harmonic event, an ultra-low vibration that didn't originate from earthquakes, tectonics, volcanism, mining, explosions, or anything else on Earth. It came from outside, and every microphone buried in the planet heard it. From Alaska to Chile, from Japan to South Africa, from Antarctica to Iceland, the same signal, the same pattern, a repeating three-step resonance, a knock. And the frequency, 5.13 Hz, the exact frequency emitted by the human brain during deep memory recovery, the moment forgotten thoughts return. This wasn't random. This was intentional. And then the Tonga Trench structure woke up. Yes, the one hidden 5 miles beneath the Pacific, the one NASA tried to erase from the public database, the one connected to Atlas by synchronized pulses. After that knock, sensors picked up a power surge from the trench, something activating down there. The ocean above it started vibrating with standing wave patterns, geometric ripples that formed a repeating spiral. The same spiral seen in ancient carvings, the same spiral found in Peru, in Suma. In Egypt, in the Aboriginal dream time, the same spiral burned into crop fields across Earth for decades. A message, a location, a countdown. Listen very carefully, because inside that trench, scientists detected a material not found anywhere on Earth, a metal beyond our periodic table, smooth, seamless, still operational after millions of years underwater. And scanning deeper, they found chambers, constructed corridors like a vault, locked. Atlas is not heading to Earth by coincidence. It is coming to open something, and someone not human left it here. We thought Atlas was bringing something, but now we understand. It is coming to retrieve something. And here is where everything truly breaks the part they will never tell the public. That biological dust trailing Atlas, the pre-life molecules forming filaments, it matches the contamination signatures taken around the trench structure. That means only one thing. This didn't start in space. It started here. Life on Earth wasn't born. It was activated. Atlas isn't alien. It's home. Three-Eye Atlas is no longer just an anomaly, is no longer a scientific curiosity floating through the solar system. It has become a presence, a force, and now a choice. Because everything led to this moment. The synchronized magnetic pulses, the living molecular trail, the fragment of engineered metal, the spin code messages, the seismic knock using Earth as a speak, and finally the signal. It wasn't a threat. It wasn't an attack. It was an invitation. Atlas is not coming to destroy Earth. That would be easy. If it wanted to, it already could have asteroid impacts, orbital nudges, solar manipulation. Instead, it waits, observes, tests, responds without speaking. It isn't searching for planets. It isn't searching for life. It is searching for memory. Because now we know Atlas and whatever sleeps beneath the Pacific are connected. The biological strands drifting behind Atlas match the material found around that submerged structure in the Tonga Trench. That means Atlas isn't just connected to Earth, it has been here before. Maybe long before humans, maybe before mammals, maybe before Earth even stabilized as a world. We aren't witnessing first contact. We are witnessing contact renew, because the energy signature detected deep beneath the ocean is not random, it's structured. And that spiral it emitted, that was not decoration. It was a coordinate pointing directly to Atlas's next predicted approach vector. And now, with terrifying clarity, the truth emerges. Atlas isn't traveling toward Earth. It's returning to a point it left. A hand reaching for something familiar. A code reactivating a dormant system. A seed returning to its root. Life on Earth may not have begun as an accident of chemistry. It may have begun as part of a process, a cycle, a mission, one that is now reaching its next stage. And maybe that's why Atlas stayed silent. Because it wasn't waiting for us to speak, it was waiting for us to understand. So here we are, a species on the edge of awakening, watching the skies while something ancient watches us back. We're terrified because we still think like children afraid of the dark because we don't know what's inside it. But maybe the truth isn't horror. Maybe the truth is origin. Maybe the question isn't, what is Three-Eye Atlas? Maybe the real question is, what are we? Because now, as the signals align and the countdown approaches, one thing has become undeniable. Atlas is not the end of this story. It is only the beginning. And whatever happens next will change humanity forever. Subscribe if you want to stay ahead of what comes next. Because this isn't the last signal. And if you're still listening, if you're still awake, then you already know something else is coming.